thank you for joining us, Pam.
Happy to be here in this beautiful theater. So impressed with this place.
Well, I'm happy to be one of the performers that's part of your show. Why don't you tell us your name and your hometown?
Well, my name is Pam Harbaugh. I grew up in Orinda, California. I live in Florida now. So I've set my play in Orinda, Write What You Know.
And what was your journey from California to Florida?
New York. Went to New York because I wanted to be the next Carol Burnett. But I didn't become her. So. But anyway, yeah, I went to New York. I studied acting, and then I met my husband. Actually started a children's program at the 13th Street Theater in the Village in New York, and that was in the 70s. And then moved to Florida.
And when in that journey did you decide to be a playwright? Were you already a playwright when you were in New York?
No, that was not my my emphasis. My emphasis was on acting, and then teaching. I enjoyed teaching acting, especially with young people. And then I directed a lot. And then what happened when we moved to Florida, I started doing more children's theater there, and I noticed that there weren't enough roles for girls. There were lots of boy roles, the kings and the jesters and all of this. So I started rewriting a lot of fairy tales, and then started writing my own original works, with a lot of females in it, a lot of female parts for the little girls who wanted to get up on stage and act. So that's when I started doing that. And then it started accelerating more after I stopped teaching children's theater. And then I told people I was going to do adult theater, and I know that sounded a little X-rated, so I hastened to add theater for not, anyway. So that's when I started writing more plays concerning my own self and my own interests,
And what was the first play that you worked on for adult audience?
It was a play called Snowfall, and I was very happy that it won an award, and it was produced, and it concerned the end of life of my father, and me and my two sisters and brother, and all of us gathering and trying to help him along his way. So I was very proud of that, and I keep telling myself I need to go back, and now that I'm a little older, I can go back and perhaps put some more nuance in it. But yes, that was I was very proud of that.
And how many plays have you written for an adult audience?
I haven't really counted that. I would say about a dozen.
And so what was the genesis for eating blackberries? Was that recent, or was that an idea that had been living with you for a while?
It started out with a friend of mine who was telling me how as difficult divorce she was going through. And then I was thinking about how men can go and start second families, and how women really don't do that. It's usually the men who'll do something if that's going to happen. And so I started the play. The first iteration, I was calling it Second Family, and I was really focusing on that. And also at the same time as I was working on this, my husband, my dear late husband, had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and so he lived 2 years fighting that. And after he died, I was really angry, I think. I got to the point of being really angry. And so, unfortunately, the characters are really angry in the play that I'm writing, so I'm trying to get it out that way, I guess. And And I knew that they were not characters you wanted to sit and spend time 2 acts with. You didn't even want to sit next to them because they were just difficult. They were difficult. They were in difficult situations, and they were not balanced really. So anyway, I wrote that and I rewrote it. Then I was writing it some other way. I called it another. It was under another title. But during this time, you know, I was setting it in my hometown of Orinda, and there were a lot of fires in California, Northern California, and that was very distressing, being in Florida and seeing all this stuff that's happening. And then the pandemic happens, and then people start talking about there's fish in the canals of Venice, and then there is wildlife encroaching, and there's and people in Tibet, I said, or India perhaps, when the smog lifted finally, they could see the Himalayas that they'd never seen before. And I just started thinking about change then, about the seismic change going on in the earth and seismic change going on in families. And it felt organic. That whole thing, idea of this change, felt that this is happening in nature. Of course it's going to be happening with us, and because we're a part of nature. So yes, that's happening with us. And so that's what prompted this, is this idea of change. That's where, you know, all these characters that I had been playing with unsuccessfully finally started, I found a prism for them, to put them in. Prism with an M, all right? So that's that, and I was dealing with change myself then, and change is hard for people, you know? You're sitting at the computer, you're playing solitaire or whatever, you have to get up and get ready for work. Oh, let me just play another couple of games. Let me play another. You know, we don't like to change, to get up and move and do something else, right? So, but that's the one constant that we have. And I wanted to explore that, especially with how these, I don't know if they're man-made, I don't know. I think if we say that the changes happening in the world is man-made, I think that's rather arrogant of us, you know. We're little pests on the surface of this globe, and are we really creating that, or is this just a part of evolution, you know? Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Oh, good. I usually, like, when I do this type of stuff, I have a delete button. You see, I can go back and say, no, that's not what I meant to say. So,
you talked about how when you first started the play, you had these characters who were perhaps not likable or likable enough over the stretch of an entire play. So what was your process in introducing the nuance in there that you felt allows an audience to connect and relate more with?
Well, I always liked the character of Jackson. That's the young boy who's about to turn 18. And it was a matter of just going through and looking at the more strident passages and getting rid of them. And there was a lot of editing out. I had a lot of big plot points going on in there which complicated the play too much, and I just got rid of them and then looked more at the characters and what they want and try to be understanding of them. Now you're playing the part of Paul, and that's a huge challenge because there are a few little hints as to why Paul is the way he is. Just a few little hints, you know, and so you have to ferret those out and then, you know, love your characters. They say to be successful in a portrayal, no matter how despicable a character may seem on the surface, you must love your character. And that brings depth and humanity to the character. And all of us are unlikable at certain points in our lives. I don't know about you.
Well, and in the script, there are clear moments where there are conversations about what a character's nature is and where that may have come from. I think particularly for Paul, I think there is some conversation, I think, for Sophia, and I think that there's the sort of broader conversation about what Jackson's character's upbringing reflects about the nature of his parents and their relationship while he was growing up. I guess I would ask, for Elizabeth, your central character, what do you feel is the sort of nature story for her coming into this?
So Elizabeth is a woman who always wanted a family. And this was very important to her. The motherhood is a very important part of this. And you look at Mother Earth also. So there's motherness in there. And that's what she's reflecting. She's reflecting Mother Earth. She's reflecting that desire to create. And she's a writer. She used to teach. She used to be a literature professor. She's got this wonderful relationship with her son, and what she thought was a wonderful relationship with her husband. And I think that it was a wonderful relationship, but his tragic flaws, nothing he could do about it, they undermined the relationship and broke it. So does that answer your question?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
What would you say is the message that you're hoping to convey by the end of the show about the human ability to evolve within their own nature?
That it will happen, that if you let it. So to have faith, forgiveness is hugely important. And I think there is an element of that, understanding and moving on, but being strong enough to withstand change and not to worry about it, that everything's going to be okay. And also to see ourselves in different aspects of humanity. Like there's like Sophia, you think of her as being this real burr, under the saddle of Elizabeth, and certainly that was the case. But there's more to her than that, and there's that sense of hope. In the play, I talk about blackberries being the gem among the briars. This is Mother Nature's way of saying she's sorry for everything she's put humans through. If you go through these briars, go through these thorns, you're going to find something delicious and juicy and a balm for you, And so I suppose that would be it, to look for those gems. They're there. The angels are all about us.
Do you have your own personal fond memories of blackberries from when you were living in Orinda?
Oh, yeah. Well, they do grow everywhere. I mean, and I know they do here, too. Mm-hmm. No, I never... the only time I went blackberry picking, and I know this is going to sound like, who are you and where did you come from? I went to this young woman I knew, was engaged to this man who had a very small winery, mm-hmm. very small, up in Napa. And so at Napa, is only about an hour and a half from Orinda. It's very close. When I was growing up there, though it took much longer because the freeways weren't developed. And when I was growing up, Napa was where when you said you were going to Napa, it meant that you were going to the state hospital. That's what Napa was, the cachet for Napa. Anyway, so So we were up in this winery, and this young woman handed us a basket, and she said, "Go pick some blackberries, and we'll have them for lunch." So we each went with our little baskets and picked blackberries all along the way, and we had them at lunch under this arbor, this tree, and dining al fresco in Napa with fresh blackberries and bottles of wine. I mean, come on.
Did you have any experiences from your time in Orinda with wildfires? Because that is a very important component.
Not at that time. I did not live there when those types of things were happening. But I lived in an area of Orinda called Sleepy Hollow, and they were. There was only one way in and out of this area. And unfortunately, during an Oakland Hills wildfire, someone did get, we knew this family who did get trapped in there, and they did not make it out because there was just no way of getting out. So, but yeah, there's just been so many. But Orinda has been very fortunate.
I'm going to backtrack slightly because I think I should ask you if you could give us a brief synopsis of the play.
Okay, so the play, it takes place in this home, a family home in Orinda, California. It's during fire season. It's summer with lots of fires going on. And Elizabeth and her son Jackson are in the home, and they are packing. There's packing boxes everywhere. So it's obvious that they're getting ready to leave. And in comes Elizabeth's ex-husband, Paul, and his new pregnant young wife, Sophia. And Paul and Sophia want this to be a civil discourse, but it ends up a mess. Literal mess. I will use the word literally. And come see the play, and you understand why that's a joke. Okay, so and so there's this huge fight, and we think nothing is ever going to. But this is now just in the first act. There's still another act to come. So now we have to see where all this can align, but at the same time, there's all these shifts happening in Mother Nature. This matrices are just being ripped apart and reformed, and that's the same with the family. So they reflect. The family reflects of what's happening with Mother Nature, because there's these bears that come outside drinking water from the pool. And there's snakes and earthquakes and fires and windstorms and all of that little stuff to keep you busy in an afternoon.
And blackberries, always enduring.
And encroaching blackberries, huge encroaching blackberries.
So then, without giving away where the story goes and where the characters land, what do you want audiences to walk away with, feeling about where the play goes and where the characters' stories go?
Well, I want them to be hopeful that at least 3 of the characters have a future, that they are moving ahead, that you think good things are going to happen to these people. And one person who's stuck and will not change, perhaps cannot change. And we must try to be not too judgmental of this person, because I'm not sure if there's any redemption on the horizon, because this person needs to accept things.
Some lines in evolution just
that's right, are written in stone, but that stone's going to crack.
So let's talk a little bit about process for you. What have you found your process to be like as a writer? How has that process changed over time?
So, when I sometimes it's like when you're sleeping, you're waking up, or you're taking a shower, and sometimes things will pop into your head, and you go, "Oh, that's what I want to do. That's it. That's it." Like my play Casserole, it had that. I remember I was in the shower and I was thinking about my family, and I was thinking, oh, this is what this has to be. This is what a story about love and acceptance. You know, I want to put that out there. And then another time, I was thinking about this play that I'm have just finished up. I'm still tweaking it. I was thinking about this dear old friend of mine who I knew when I lived in New York, and she was an older woman. She was, I guess, in her 70s, 80s, and she was a very dear friend, and I miss her so much. She passed probably 25 years ago, and I wanted to bring her back. So I thought, okay, I'm going to bring her back. Now, what good character is? What would be a good, counterpoint to her? And then evolving that, and then bringing in a setting. Of course, is extremely important. Where is this happening, and what is going on? And why is this? Why is the play happening at this particular time? It just can't be any old day. There's got to be a reason it's happening on that day, and so that's a really, really important thing to consider. And other than that, it just you try to get things down, and then you just keep working it and working and working. I mean, I worked on this play for at least 2 years, Blackberries, and the same thing with Casserole, and I think I usually do. It's about a 2-year process for me. Mm-hmm. To write these, because I need space then. I just need to put it down and refresh, and then go back and see if something is just like, oh, why the heck did I write that? And get rid of that. I don't need that. So, but put everything in there, and then start taking it out. Start taking it out. That's what seems to work for me. There's some people who like working with an outline, and I do find working with an outline, a general outline, I find extremely helpful. But also at the same time, when you freewheel it a little bit, you're just all of a sudden these little ideas, these little muses will be sitting on your shoulder and whispering in your ear, "Do that," And truly, I mean, sometimes you come up, like in the second act, when the blackberries become a more present issue, well into the second act, that moment, I had not planned that at all. And it just came barreling at me. Why don't I put this in? And I'm so glad that I did, because there's that wonder, it's almost sacred moment in this, where a couple of characters are helping another character. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil any surprises. But
is there anything else now in the script that surprises you from where it started and where it's come to?
Oh, absolutely, yes. The relationship in the second act between Sophia and Elizabeth, how that works. I had always had that relationship between Paul and Jackson towards in that second act too. That had always been there, and the big moment, that big earth-shattering moment. So, and so those were surprising things that I just allowed to happen. As I'm writing, I'm thinking, well, what would happen if these characters did such and such? And And when you allow that to happen, it's gold, and then you say, okay, I'm keeping that, so that means I need to get rid of something a little bit before, or I need to plug in little things foreshadowing that this is going to happen over here. So you're always going back and forth with this because it's an organic whole, you know.
How did you and Blackberries come to the new Playfest?
Well, I was fortunate enough to have won a couple of years previous to that with my play Casserole. And it was such a grand experience. This is a great competition for playwrights to enter, and it's done with such respect and such serious consideration of the works. And then if you're fortunate enough to win, to be one of the 6 winners, you get this amazing experience where you get to workshop the play at a theater like this. Oh my gosh, with actors like you, with directors like Eric, you know, where you get a chance to do that, and then you see it, and you work with the dramaturg. David is wonderful. He's so smart, and he has such a clean, simple way of saying, this would be better, you know, try it like that. And so, you know, I really enjoyed working with him. Last night was our first chance to actually do that. And then actually seeing the play come to fruition, and then, gosh, having it published, you know, it's a dream come true. I mean, it's not even something you dream. So it isn't a dream come true. It's a dream that has, all of a sudden you realize this is happening to you. You don't even think that this type of stuff is going to happen to you. Don't even consider it, and all of a sudden it's there. Boom, you know. So.
What are you looking forward to most as opening night approaches for you?
Well, the excitement, of course. That's, you know, it's fun. I will be interested to listen in on the audience reaction to see if they react the way I do, you know, because sometimes the audiences will find things funny that you didn't even think were funny, you know, and which is great. Or sometimes they'll find things sad that you're like, oh yeah, I guess that is sort of poignant, you know, that is a poignant part. You all almost made me cry last night in this one scene between Elizabeth and Sophia, and and I'm used to the dialogue. I was still like, oh. I must say what an honor it is to have my play chosen by the AACT New Play Fest and to have it done here at the Hickory Community Theater. This is an extraordinary organization, and I hope that the people who are watching this video will have already known about it, will have already come here, but if not, be sure to come here, just even in addition to eating blackberries, just to come here and support this amazing theater. And it's very humbling for me for my work to have been chosen to be on this, and I'm extremely honored.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being here and talking more about your life and your process as a writer and what the play means to you, and for bringing this opportunity here, for you and AACT to bring this opportunity here. It is important for the theater to give audiences the opportunity to see shows that they might not otherwise, and so I think this is an opportunity for everybody is very important for your growth, for our growth, and for what audiences understand, you know, as far as what theaters are capable of doing.
Well, thank you, and again, it is an honor.
Thank you.